10 years ago today, I watched the Nostalgia Critic review of Digimon the movie. It was July 4th of 2012. Now, usually he reviews movies on Tuesdays, but this is a Wednesday, and I always thought that he released videos on Wednesday mornings rather than Tuesday afternoons. Now, before watching the video, I knew a little bit about it. I mean, of course I would. I knew about what it was, and I even watched an episode in the past, but I didn't really know much about it. After finishing this review, well, actually, before this review actually came out, he did a video explaining the top 11 reasons why he wouldn't review the movie. But it turned out to be an awareness video of the SOPA Act of 2012. After seeing this review, I questioned myself. How come I don't know more about Digimon? I was at an age where I knew what I would like and what I wouldn't like, and Pokemon wasn't something that I would like. So I decided to give Digimon another go, and, well, 10 years later, here we are. Now, a 12-year-old is just barely being on the age demographic for a show like this, but I was just able to squeak in and be part of the fan and community that I just so happened to miss. And in a way, I don't mean to brag, but I mean, this is my series, but Digimon somehow revised and reformed my way of storytelling and writing in Shareverse's material. And speaking of which, let's just jump right back into Shareverse very quick, wrap up all the big major plot lines that happened in there regarding the digital world and Shinji and everything else. I'm not going to go over everything because I still need to revise some stuff, but let's just check right back in. By the way, my performance in this video is not going to be the best because I'm still recovering from a sickness, so I apologize for the inconvenience, but I want to get this video done by the July 4th deadline. Shortly after Oikawa turned himself into butterflies, we're just not going to question that, Shinji was officially done with his decade of misery, and what better way to celebrate but to delete it all. He started with revealing himself as the creator of the digital world publicly. Keep in mind, he was the Genii avatars for every Digidestin across their globe, and he was somehow able to keep his sanity. That's awesome. Anyway, one by one, he deleted his avatars and the other Digidestin partners until eventually the ones in Japan were all that remained. Though at this point, Japan's Digidestined American boss, Drakina, was also at the summer camp visiting her employees. She kept a distance for them until this adventure was over. Now that it had ended, the two outside figures had met, but with altered motives. Shinji came to the camp to wipe out all traces of his creations, but Drakina needed them to complete her quest in the Saturday morning cartoon business. Shinji tried to delete the monsters there, but they retreated back to America using the shuttle their boss used to get to Japan. For the next week, Shinji began to deconstruct everything. With help from his wife Rei, they deleted the Digimon Sovereigns and saved the Zulongmon for last. Knowing his time was near, he used his power and data to grant all Digidestined their true potential with digivolving forms, and even gave back past Digidestined either their partners or powers back. Though Susie and Henry have to share their partners with Willis, and Jerry won't be seeing Leomon anytime soon. Shinji even confronted the ghost of Wizardmon. He wasn't going to delete him, though he was curious why he would distance himself from Gatomon, the person that saved his life. He replied with, he knew the true power that Gatomon holds inside herself, that being the infused Digi-Crystal, and didn't want her to die so soon. Even after death, he always looked out for her. After 1 week, Shinji fought the Digidestined in Manhattan, and Rei forcing all Digimon to retreat to their fresh forms. Before getting the chance to delete them for good, Drakina interfered and scratched Rei's arm with her sword. Shinji called off the eradication, giving her full care and responsibility of the digital world if she had so much faith in them. The Fox Kids building, and later the ABC Family building in Florida, were set up as beacons for previous teams to meet the new caretaker of the digital world. Fun fact, despite Drakina being the new caretaker, she never, not once, stepped foot in the digital world. So when they heard the news, Bandai, Toei, and definitely Gainax were freaking out. These two entertainment properties were linked outside of their products, and now they had to somehow scrub all traces of their connections, otherwise a huge lawsuit would come crashing down. Thankfully, Evangelion was already set in a post-apocalyptic 2015, so no traces of digital monsters could be set up there. But Toei had a bigger fish to fry. Adventure's story was already self-contained, and by March of 2000, they had to do massive reworks on Zero Two's adaptations come April of that year. They already had Adventure happen in 1999 rather than 1996 to make the story more contemporary, so it was an easy transition for Zero Two's anime to be set in 2003. Other changes include having the story occurring throughout the year, and when Final sealed to distance itself from Eva connections, the anime included an epilogue with the Digidestined grown up and having kids. Because of the beacon in America, Bandai and Toei would be familiar with the other Digidestined and their stories within the decade. And with all of them being self-contained, for the most part, it was easier for the anime seasons to create their own lore that conflicts with one another. That's why in some seasons, the digital world was created by humans, and in others, it's always been around since Earth's creation. I also forgot to bring up how did Oikawa knew about the digital world in Shareverse, whereas in the anime, it was a video game that him and Cody's dad played decades before the start of the season. In Shareverse, they participated in a tech demo for the digital world before the servers would open up in early 1990. The two repressed their experience until Cody's dad died, and Myotismon reawakened that memory when he went inside Oikawa. So, the new seasons were coming out after 02. Now with the notion that all of them would take place in their own universe with different rules and worlds building. That way the anime was clear from any copyright issues with Gainax. Going back to outside the anime, the Digidestined from the Decade of Misery were workers for Saban, whether that be at Fox Kids or Jetix, until their untimely separation in 2009. But I already went over that story in another set of videos. Drakina would hold the title of caretaker until 2010, where she would quit her job at Disney and cut herself off from everyone. In 2012, she would later reunite with Tai after getting herself recollected. By this point, Shinji had heard about what she did 2 years ago, and with the title of caretaker being attributed to no one, began to put matters into his own hands once more. Despite the D-Reaper being fully deleted, a small piece of data was kept inside Jerry, only awakening under the orders of Shinji. And 20 years later, that day would come. Plus, you can call it the prototype to Dark Spores if you really want to. This would lead into the storyline, MBC A-Team 02. Yeah, it's a mouthful. Truth be told, this storyline has not been fully revised, and I still need to iron out some things in order for it to make sense, name included. So I'll just give you the Spark Note summary. Jerry, under the control of the D-Reaper, wants to kill everyone, so myself OC and a bunch of other people have to take her out. Shinji also contributes to Jerry's plans and fights his creations once more, even introducing Ray's full power, giant naked Ray that Shinji can pilot inside her. By the by, Ray is based off of Shinji's mom. Yeah! At one point, he locks up all Digimon in the digital world in order for them to be fully erased. This is when Patamon and Gatomon find an undeveloped Lucimon and claim him as their own. Renamon realizing that the digital monsters can fully express themselves as family and even genders. Once this arc in the storyline ends, everyone is freed and the digital world is saved once more. He also revives Wizardmon, though it's unknown why he would do that. Early on in this storyline, Asuka finds this family feud a bit unfair and sides with the Digimon. They even give her the title of Aunt Asuka. Kaoru, who had been active after 1989 and also materialized in the real world in the 90s the same way Ray did, had been supervising the digital world since 1990, even intermixing his personal goals through his persona as Atomon. Towards the halfway point of the storyline, Jerry also corrupts Gatomon's Digicrystal and uses her Leilamon or Lilithmon form under her control, though she is easily broken free. However, the storyline does end with Takato fighting Jerry from her control, though because of being bonded to the D-Reaper for over 2 decades, it managed to split off and become its own being, taking the appearance of Jerry as well. It was decided for her to live on her own and be under parole until she is determined to not be a massive threat. Again, I really need to rewrite this storyline. Shortly after being free from Jerry's control, Gatomon did a lot of thinking. Ever since working at Fox Kids, she looked up to Drakina with her determination of setting up a goal and excelling in it. And with her being the beating heart of the digital world, not to mention a high-risk target to her father if he plans to delete his creations once more, she would have to take that responsibility of standing up. No more was she going to be benched, only used when it's her turn for utility. Now, she was going to be her own woman. Or woman. Kari gave her blessing to do whatever she wanted, and in the early hours of October 30th, 2012, Gatomon, in her Leilamon form, snuck into Mickey's house and began to beat his ass, getting revenge for ruining her life and a lot of other people, including her friends and boss. How did she know where he lived? Well, he lives where he works, i.e., Disney World. Now Mickey is a strong guy, insanely skillful with magic and keyblades, even a lightsaber. But because Gatomon attacked him off guard, he was not able to get right back on his feet. And apparently Minnie slept through all of this. I guess she was a heavy sleeper. Before beating him any further, she noticed that on his desk was a yet-to-be finalist contract regarding Disney acquiring Lucasfilm. She then walked up and added in a few additional statements, including
she would be the Astro Soul co-owner of the company, and that sealed the deal. That morning, Star Wars fans were mixed about their series being bought by Disney, and Astro Souls were shocked to find a lone Digimon toppling a business-focused tyrant like Mickey Mouse and now being on top of the world. Aside from being able to freely digivolve between her evolution lines, Gatomon also has the full data of both an Angelomon and a Lady Devimon, digivolving into a Mastemon all by herself. The Digicrystal can get you to do so many things. Throughout 2012 to 2019, things mostly stayed the same. Digimon and their creator Shinji kept fighting back and forth. Of course, he did contribute into making the app monsters in 2016 when he was ordered by Bandai and Toei to do so. Shaunmon learns about his human origins and parents. Again, Disney fighting evolution, that's going to be a whole other story. A lot of Digimon decided to utilize human forms. The Tri movies were made in-house with their disgusting Gatomon OC. But with Odaiba Day coming up in 2019, things would take a drastic change. In my first video on this channel, utilizing this format, I discussed how I would later talk about how Rex fought the hero equivalent for his DLC quest. Well, I'm not going to go into detail yet again, but I will address that this fight occurred during this story. Because it was the Odaiba Day season, Shinji interacted with his creations once more, but this time with a second perspective. Well, that and all the other chaos that was occurring during this all-out brawl. Seriously, Goku and his gang were there. In fact, the hero equivalent for Rex's DLC quest was Goku. Heavily a one-sided fight. Mickey ordered a couple of his men to show up. It was a mess at Turks and Caicos. But because many people were getting forms of closure, Shinji participated and began to feel grateful that he created Digimon and the wide majority of them. And in the end, everyone, Shinji, even Karu included, all got together and they had a great feast. If there's one way to describe Digimon, it's about family. And that's what's so powerful about it. Since 2012, and especially since 2015, the franchise has been going on an upward trend. A bunch of loyal and supportive fans, Ghost Game doing pretty well, we finally got the wristbands here in America, and the long-awaited release date for Digimon Survive coming up this month. But for me, I kinda moved on from it. Not entirely, obviously, but watching the anime is past me now. App Monsters, the Adventure Reboot, and Ghost Game don't seem appealing to me. So what did I do? Instead of watching them just to hate them, I didn't watch them and remained neutral on it. Which is advice a lot of fandoms should keep as their dogma, especially now. And if you're so curious, here's my tier list on the 6 seasons, though if you did watch my videos, you would come to expect this outcome.
Honestly, this project that I put onto myself has been fun, challenging, but more importantly, tiring. I'm glad that I was able to discuss a series that has been near and dear to my heart for over 10 years at least, and has been a way to revise my storytelling with my own written series. But, it showed me the positives and negatives, according to this. So, that's gonna do it. You may not see another video for the rest of the month. I may put in an update video or whatever, but, yeah. Until then, I'm AJ. I really need a break.